Hello and welcome to the Authority of Love. This is another Family Foundation Friday. And remember, at Love and Lordship, our vision is every life and relationship built on the love and Lordship of Jesus Christ. I'm here again with our great co-host, David Walls of the Family Foundation for that Family Foundation Friday I mentioned. David, thanks for joining us, and thanks to our listeners for joining us.
It's good to be with you, Greg. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, brother.
Looking tan and refreshed.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's great to be back. If you view this on a video, you might notice I have a tan. My wife and I had a wonderful time. Got to get away for the first time in a long time. I've mentioned that before for my dad's passing. And so, again, we had a Mother's Day, of course, it's happened. And that was, I remember my mom. This is our fourth Mother's Day without her, our first without my dad. But, your grandmother passed, and that's the I don't want to say this, it is the circle of life, because we do. And then we got your children growing up. I got grandchildren now, but we had a great time. It's great to be back. I know it's end of school year as well, David, with you and your family.
Yeah, a lot of activities. It's the end of the school year, so we'll just go ahead and encourage everyone to be praying for those families as they everyone finish strong. That's what I'm trying to remind my kids. You still have to do your work.
That's right. No end of the year slack or slump. Yeah. Right. Got to stay with it. That's a good lesson for all of us, David. We get into that. I think that's our flesh. It tends to do that. But hey, we've got a couple of things. There's a lot, but a couple of things in particular that we want to cover today because they continue to be front and center on a lot of areas: the media, legislation, the executive administration in D.C. with President Trump and those involved. But we're going to hit something again because they've given us even more ammunition. Planned Parenthood themselves, which we've been talking about defunding them for several weeks now, President Trump has put a freeze on at least some areas of theirs. It'd be like finding a needle in a haystack if you find all the funds that have been given to them. But their own report reveals a lot, doesn't it, David?
Yeah, there was their most recent annual report. Data from that recently came out, and just continuing to make the case about why it is so morally right, and just now is the time for Congress to once and for all get our taxpayer dollars out of funding an evil organization that profits from the murder of preborn children.
Their own stats bear that out. Their own report bears that out, right?
And it's increasingly more easy to see if you just look at the numbers. So let's just break some of this down, Greg. This most recent report shows that they received over what was it, Greg? $700 million in our tax dollars. They performed a record 402,230 abortions. These numbers are
which
up.
is the largest ever.
Yes.
Right.
So their numbers are up. Here's another important stat. Essentially 97% of the time a woman went to go get care at Planned Parenthood.
Health care.
The mom was sold an abortion. 97% of the time. Just think about that for a minute. Here's another stat to think about. Think about adoption, because sometimes they'll say, well, we do some adoption referrals. For every one adoption referral Planned Parenthood made, they performed 187 abortions. So the reality is, sometimes
that's about half of a percent, basically, between the two. And 0.5% of that are the kids are adopted. 99.5 approximately are aborted.
Yeah. And this is at the same time their other quote-unquote services are way down, and you can a breakdown of these numbers, because sometimes it's been held up. Well, they perform all these other services, where increasingly those services are even less and less. The other service that they're seeing a ramp up in is pushing transgender craziness and transgender mutilation. Those services are way up, and increasingly amount of their clinics are providing those quote unquote services.
So they're chasing the dollar, actually, is what they're doing.
Right.
Those are the places where they get a lot of money.
Right.
And so they push those while they continue to tell the lie that we offer a lot of other health care. And that's important, David, because their own report refutes what they're saying.
Absolutely.
And yet there are several. I know I sent you an article and you'd already read some of it. There's several I guess so-called conservative legislators in D.C. that are now kind of holding the resolution captive, saying if you don't continue to support Planned Parenthood, we're not going to vote for this.
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversation, as I said, about the need to make this a permanent defunding.
Yes.
Conversation in what President Trump is calling for, this big beautiful bill.
And there are a lot of good things in it.
Right.
Yes.
But a bill is not beautiful if it continues to fund and use our tax dollars to pay for killing unborn children.
Yeah, babies, and harming mothers.
Right.
Which we know it does.
Yeah. But you're right, from some of our allies up in Washington, D.C., Family Research Council, Tony Perkins, hearing that there might be a group of Republicans behind the scenes, some publicly, that are saying they won't vote for a bill that would defund Planned Parenthood. And I'll mention one of the articles I saw. One of the congressmen, lawyer, I believe, if that's how you pronounce his last name, from New York, said, again, pointing to this, Planned Parenthood provides a lot of other services outside of abortion-related services, and so we can't take away people's health care.
Their own report refutes that.
Their own report refutes that. Abortion is not health care. Transing kids, performing, mutilating procedures and pushing people towards doing something that's not possible to quote unquote change their sex, that's not health care either. No. This is an organization, it also said in the report, Greg, that I believe they have something like $2.5 billion in reserves. So they have a lot of money. They raise a lot of money from individuals still. Let them raise their own dollars. Our tax dollars should have nothing to do with this organization, right. Or with any organization that promotes abortion. Yeah. And so I just feel like with all the conversation that we've had in this administration about wanting to root out, getting to the bottom of out of control spending, looking at some of the wasteful spending, fraud, and abuse. I mean, this is the epicenter of that. Yeah. There is not any dollars that we spend, and we waste a lot of dollars. We know that in terms of how government spend dollars. There is nothing more wasteful, more wrong, more unjustifiable than the federal dollars that are going to Planned Parenthood. Yeah. So if we can't do this, I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to make any significant progress on reining in out-of-control spending that's unjustified.
And to your point right there, David, I think we're getting down to some philosophical foundations. Yeah. In other words, you can say all you want, and I've said this many times over the years with Family Foundation even before, you can't be fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Right. Because the social liberality will ultimately demand that you pay for all the destruction that it brings with it. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing, David. And so you can give lip service to defund Planned Parenthood and all the destruction of babies that are killed, of mothers that are harmed, gender dysphoria that is promoted and harming young people that, as you said, can never really happen. Right. Planned Parenthood is front and center. Right. They are at the core of it. That's why people are talking about it. That's why President Trump is talking about it. But you can't go, well, we're going to have this big, beautiful bill to help marriages and families and our culture and prices and all of that. Our taxes and our spending and all that, and then keep this socially, one of the most socially liberal programs and organizations out there destroying people and lives. Yes. Because you got to pay for it somewhere. Yeah.
No, you do. Yeah. And so just a reminder to folks, we have been joining with others in encouraging Congress to defund Planned Parenthood once and for all. Again, just a reminder, if you go to our website, our Take Action page at KentuckyFamily.org, we've got a very easy alert set up where you can send a message
top of the page,
to our congressional delegation here from Kentucky and send them an encouraging message. Now is the time. I know we've mentioned this several times over the last few weeks, but between this, breaking down Planned Parenthood's new report to the conversation we had, I believe, 2 weeks ago, Greg, with the new study from EPPC. I think that's just two P's, EPPC, showing the harm of the chemical abortion pill on mothers. Yes. There is just a lot of momentum, and there's been a lot of light that has been shown on the abortion industry. Mm-hmm. And how destructive it is. And so let's do all we can here in Kentucky to be an encouraging voice to our legislators, to let them know that they've got the support of Kentuckians to do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, and we're saying not only take action, But the most powerful thing you can do, and don't not take action because I say this, do both, is to pray.
Absolutely.
Because we've been close on several times over the years, and then it falls through with because politics and dollars all play a big part of this. So it's going to take a spiritual move and an awakening, I think, to really get people to stand firm and to make this happen. President Trump has taken some steps. He waffles a little bit on some of this, the legislators, so we need to pray for them.
Absolutely.
The other thing in line with this is all of this shift has happened and now we have the congressional 6th district up, and Senator McConnell's seat will be up this next year, so pray for that as well.
Yeah, and that we would end up with continue to have a congressional delegation in all these seats that is incredibly strong on the life issue for sure.
And when you do that, you end up shifting people kind of up the ladder. Those kind of things. So whatever that's to be, we want to pray that people are seeking the Lord, and those are the ones who get that. We see that. Finally, we can recap a lot of this. David, you got a new citizen that's already hit some mailboxes, right?
Yeah, our second quarter citizen is in the mail. So depending on where you are in the state, we've got, again, our recap of the legislative session. We've got some details on our just released Kentucky Family Legislative Scorecard and some other good information and articles. Encourage folks to visit our website at kentuckyfamily.org. Some of those articles are already posted on our website. You can sign up to receive the citizen. But we're excited to have it out there, and hopefully it'll equip folks, particularly the scorecard.
Little tease on that. How does it compare? Do you think favorably to last year's? Is there an improvement, you think? Or
this was a good session. There was a number of good bills that were voted on. We've talked about those, and so there was, just from a data standpoint, there were more votes that are included in the legislative scorecard for legislators to be able to vote on,
and a lot more positive votes. People getting behind some of these things, right?
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Is very good.
So again, we'll break some of this down in more detail next week, Greg, Lord willing. But it should provide a really helpful resource to folks to be able to see how their legislators voted. Thankfully, most of them voted really strongly on some important bills.
Yeah, so, that was my point. So it's out there. You can find it in the Citizen. You can go online, kentuckyfamily.org, and find that as well. And please let them know what you think, because especially if it's good. They can. He's your thick skin. You can handle it. But anyway, appreciate that, David. That's always a great resource, digitally or in hard copy.
And it was good to be up at the Capitol. I know you talked about it with our good friend Adia Wushner, and they help host a bill signing ceremony for House Bill 90. That's one of the important pieces of legislation to provide pro-life clarity to our laws. But it's just good to be able to get together and celebrate, significant
good
milestones.
Turnout for that.
It was. There was a lot of legislators there. And as I've continued to remind folks, look, the Kentucky Capitol is about to be closed for many years.
Yes.
If you haven't made it to the Capitol or haven't been there in a while, take advantage of the opportunity to go visit the Capitol building. It may be a number of years before you're able to get inside the main Capitol building.
Yeah, exactly right. And it was beautiful. It's a great day. Just want to remind you and ask you for prayers. I'll be going on this cruise that I've talked about before and be teaching on that cruise, so I'd appreciate your prayers for that. We're looking forward to it. My wife and I are looking forward to that in a few weeks, and so we're excited. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day, and God bless in Christ. I'm Greg Williams, your host, joined by our co-host David Walls, and you're listening to The Authority of Love, and in particular to the Family Foundation Friday. Thank you, and God bless.